Continuing our mock draft series in the AFC West with the Denver Broncos. Going to do a 3-round mock draft for the Broncos, who were 10-7 this year. Kind of a surprising team in the NFL. Lost in the wild card round to the Buffalo Bills. So we're going to try to continue to build up Sean Payton's squad with this 3-round mock draft. Of course, you could do your own 3-round mock draft or a 7-round mock draft if you want using PFF's Mock Draft Simulator. You can trade players and trade picks, control any team or all 32 NFL teams if you want to do it in your mock draft as well. Again, subscribe.pff.com to get full access to our 2025 NFL Mock Draft Simulator. All right. Denver Broncos at number 20 overall in the NFL draft, doing a 3-round mock draft for them. We got 3 picks to make for the Denver Broncos in this 3-round mock draft. We're not going to do any trades in this mock draft, even though it is available to you if you so please. All right, Dalton, at number 20 overall, I kind of was thinking in the mindset of we got to get a weapon for Bo Nix, whether that be a wide receiver or a tight end. So you got Matthew Golden there. I think I'm a little lower on Matthew Golden than what Trevor is right now.
I have Golden wide receiver 5. I get the hype as far as his route running, and his feet are fantastic. I think there's probably some questions to me as to whether he can handle press man, but I think he would be, if we were to take him here, a very nice complement to Courtland Sutton. They still also have to figure out some tight end situation. I think Colston Loveland is very much a possibility in this spot. Him, or if Tyler Warren were to drop here, that's probably where I would go with that. I think Warren would be an easy pick if he were to drop to 20. Not sure he's getting there. I think a weapon in some fashion, and I think those are the 2 names that we talk about here. It's Golden if you want an outside route runner, a speed complement to Sutton out there, and then we've got Marvin Mims in the slot, Devon Vele, we're really stacked at receiver, or you fill that need with a tight end, and Sean Payton, he's always loved tight ends. He's got that answer with Colston Loveland from Michigan.
Personally, I'm going to be higher on Loveland than I am on Matthew Golden right now, so I would side with him. I still think he's easily a top 20, top 25 prospect in this draft. He's a phenomenal route runner at tight end and almost like a big slot receiver. You could treat him like in Denver's offense. So I personally would go with Colston Loveland here. I don't know what you would side with, but I think I'm going to be a little higher on Colston Loveland than I am on Matthew Golden. Now, Matthew Golden is the top receiver for me available based on this mock draft right now, but I would probably go with Loveland over him.
I think another step to this is we have to remember there's some forward thinking into going into these first-round picks, too, because you've got to look at the depth of the classes, right? You and I would both agree there's a lot more depth to the wide receiver class than there is to the tight end class, right? It's a little more top heavy. I think we question kind of the 3rd or 4th round pieces in the tight end class, where if we were to go round 2 and 3 and go get a wide receiver, I think we could still get a very good player out of that group. So I'm with you. I think because of the scarcity of the position and the fact that he's clearly one of the top 2 guys at this position, I'd go with Loveland too.
I agree with you. I think that's a really good point you just made, because I think it's Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland. I feel really good about being number 1 stone cold locks to be tight end 1s in the NFL. Everyone else, Harold Fannin Jr., maybe if you get really creative in your offense with him. And then everyone else kind of screams to me like a good depth tight end 2 or worse in that. Wide receiver, you could find starting receivers outside of this pick right here. So I think I agree with you. So I think that's a really good point. Scarcity position, I think Colston Loveland should be the pick here at number 20 for the Denver Broncos. All right. Now, we could go with a receiver here if we're so pleased as well, Dalton. But is there anyone else that sticks out to you with this pick?
So the immediate thought, and I'm kind of looking through, I don't consider Jalen Walker in this class, and we might have to go to this in round 3, is this team needs a linebacker. They need linebackers. Their defensive line was top 10 this year. The secondary was top 10 this year. I believe their linebacker crew was in the bottom 6 or 8. That was the clear weakness on their defense. Somebody like a Chris Paul Jr. might help me out a lot here, because also I believe both their starting linebackers, even on a below-average unit, are free agents. So they really have nothing they're working with, and Drew Sanders, who was, I believe, a 2nd or 3rd round pick a couple of years ago, really hasn't panned out either. So I think a guy like a Chris Paul Jr. here might be a good spot. They need starting caliber linebackers who can play right now.
All right, I like Chris Paul Jr. The only other one I was looking at is if we wanted to double up on the weapons, I really am falling in love with Jaden Higgins in this draft as well. So that was another guy I was thinking of. Maybe he's a little redundant to Courtland Sutton a little bit as a kind of a big contested catch kind of guy, but I'm a big fan of Jaden Higgins. He's going to be easily a top 10 receiver for me in the draft.
Him, or I saw Jack Betch from TCU sitting there also, and he's a little bit smaller than Higgins, but a really good route runner with great hands. I think you'd get a good player in either of them. So it's another thing if you look at, do we think we could get a starting linebacker in round 3? Because I don't think I could leave the first 2 days of this draft on the Broncos without a starting linebacker, somebody. If we think we could get into, what is that, pick 84, maybe it's a Jeffrey Bassa, maybe a Jack Kaiser, but that's the question now, is do we feel comfortable enough with those guys to where, okay, we'll pass on Chris Paul, we'll go receiver now and load the offense, and we're relying on one of those guys possibly to start on day one. That's the biggest thing for me. Either that or they're going to have to go out in free agency and find some sort of option. Maybe a Dre Greenlaw is an option if they feel like he's healthy enough to play. But I think this is kind of a teetering point for me with these linebackers where I go, how much more do we like Chris Paul than the rest of those guys below him?
I do like Chris Paul a lot, and I probably would take him above any of these linebackers pretty easily, whereas the receiver class are still some good names out there. So I might go with you. We could do Chris Paul here if we want for the Denver Broncos in the second round. He's one of the best linebackers in this year's draft. All right, final pick here in the third round of the NFL draft.
Maybe now. Maybe receiver. Maybe.
Tez Johnson's available.
Oh, well, I mean.
Oh, you gotta. Oh, yeah, wait, no, we got it. No, that's
see,
it.
Now we almost, yeah.
That's it. No,
now that you mention it, now we see how this works. We just fell right into it.
And for anyone wondering why they're going crazy for Tez Johnson is the adopted brother of Bo Nix. Bo Nix's family took in Tez Johnson when he was a kid. They played together in high school. And then I actually interviewed Bo Nix before, if you want to check it out, on the PFF College Football channel. I talked to him about it, and he goes, ironically, Tez wanted to go to Oregon, always. He wore an Oregon sweatshirt, and Bo's first ever start was against Oregon and Justin Herbert in that amazing game. The Knicks family had to force Tez not to wear his Oregon sweatshirt to the game. They're like, dude, you're cheering on your adopted brother who plays for Auburn. You can't be doing this. And then obviously Tez didn't get an offer from Oregon. He went to Troy, killed it at Troy. Bo, by happenstance, transfers to Oregon. And it wasn't even like a situation where Bo was like, oh, we got to go get my adopted brother. They're like, no, we got to go get him because he's one of the best receivers in the country. And he's been that for the last couple of years for Oregon as well.
Absolutely. And I think just as a player, as pure a route runner in the slot as we have, right? I think, he's undersized. Obviously, that's what's going to get criticized. That's why he's going to drop. Here's what, 5'8", 5'9", and a $170.
Yeah, $165,
Really undersized. You're going to hear the Tank Dell comparisons and all that stuff. But I think a very good separator, especially over the middle of the field. I think what he allows you to do, and some people might go, well, they already have Marvin Mims in the slot. They use Mims as more of a gadget screen kind of guy. They find other roles for him. Johnson's a pure slot receiver, a really darn good route runner, and we already know he's got a ton of chemistry with Bo Nix, so they would certainly find a role for him on the inside there.
Absolutely.
It almost feels like we have to.
No, it's just like out of a movie, basically. You have to do it. You got to keep it in the family. We're taking Tez Johnson here for the Broncos, not only because it's a great story, also he's probably the best receiver on the board pretty easily right here.
He's a terrific football player. He is. It's just going to be about overcoming the size and then finding ways to get him open in the slot, but he's a very natural separator.
Elite separator, and also he's better after the catch than you would think for a 165-pound receiver. He's just a very, very savvy football player, pretty good athlete too, which you got to pretty much have to be when you're 5'10", $165 as well. But so we got for our 3-round mock draft for the Denver Broncos, Colson Lovin in the first round, Chris Paul Jr. in the second round, and Tez Johnson rounding it out in the third round, reuniting with his adopted brother, Bo Nix, down there in Denver. Let us know in the comments below what you thought of this Broncos mock draft. And, of course, stay tuned for more AFC West mock drafts coming out very soon. For Dalton Wasserman, I'm Max Chadwick. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.